Hey, what's up, guys? It's your boy Jacko. It's the Go. You either know or you don't. Thank you for tuning in. So I just wanted to let everyone know I'm doing a reread of Black Clover while we're waiting for winter. So I think I'm going to address that point more formally in a stream, but with the time that we have, I think it's honestly better for me as a creator and someone who actually appreciates the story to some of its finer elements, to be able to take the time to look through the story with, the knowledge that we've accumulated up to this most recent chapter, 368, I believe, and kind of get a little more information than we got through the initial read-through, along with the wait for the next chapters. It will give me time to also give you guys some quality videos, like some edited videos. I've got to tell you, when I first started the whole YouTube thing, it wasn't really just Black Clover. I was doing My Hero and Boruto as well. I have one Kaiju number 8 review up here, but it's really hard to kind of keep up with the amount of things that I want to say about the series and some of the bigger points to me, and then to be able to edit it in time to where it's still relevant and still interesting for people to want to hear and watch. So with this, I get to read it with you guys. Like I said, I'll be doing it on live streams. I'm going to be doing 5 chapters at a time. I think that's reasonable. And I'll be doing 5 on here and then 5 on Twitter. I think it would kind of be taking advantage of the accessibility of these chapters if I just did it all on YouTube or all on Twitter. So I think it's good to kind of just go back and forth where it's not as accessible. But anyway, I think this should be good. And if you guys that happen to catch a stream and you guys have some things that you want to say about a particular part of what we're reading, feel free to jump in and I'll address it when I can. But anyway, I just want to get started. I know it's not my typical stream time, but I have enough energy and a little bit of time to do so. So that'd be cool. Anyway, for this stream, I'm going to start with chapter 1, and then I'm going to hop into chapter 18 through 23. And the reason for that is because I've already started my reread and I don't want to go back, because I've already made threads on what I've read so far. So if you are interested in that, I would suggest you go and read what I wrote on Twitter. And I'm trying to also put it into my highlights page, so all of the theories and threads that I find personally valuable, I'm going to be putting on the highlights thing, so it's a little bit easier to access. You're not just scrolling through my Twitter, just kind of hoping that you find it. But anyway, let's just get started. So chapter 1, we got the boys. We have Asta coming out of this grimoire. I really want to know if that means anything. That's kind of specific to me. Asta's coming out of that thing. But anyway, and I think what's cool too is that I'm going to be reading it through TCP, so shout out to them. And you'll get things like editor's notes, so I'll kind of stop in and read some of those if they're interesting. But here we go. Humanity came close to being decimated by the demons. This is the boys' vow. But just one mage saved humankind. Dude, by the way, I remember opening this first page when I initially picked up Black Clover as a manga, and this page was just so impressive to me. It's not the best ever, I'm not going to say anything like that, but it's captivating. It makes you think and kind of it demands your respect from the series. So I really do like that first page. It's a good way to set it off. And I do like this too. With the boys and the orphans and Sister Lily and Lumiere. It's all good. All good stuff. And the Wizard King has returned once again. He succeeded in leading the Magic Knights to defeat the invaders. 3 cheers for our Wizard King. So I've made a thread about, like, I think this is about, chapter 331. I've definitely made a thread talking about how I thought, these guys were made into Paladin. And, something happened, in the events of trying to stop Lucius. That these guys came back. Because look at all of them. Like, what did they come back from? Even if this isn't, like, if it doesn't come full circle from where we are in the series, it doesn't look like they came back from a mission that was, I would say, I guess, altruistic or heroic. Fuegolian looks defeated. Charlotte looks defeated. We have these mysterious characters like this one, with this, it's a specific robe, and with Tabata, I just don't believe in coincidences. It's just not my style to do so. And while these guys, these are our do-well knights, like they do nothing but good, and then to have Julius, knowing what we know about Julius now, makes this look so sketchy. He's the only one smiling. So, who knows? Maybe Lucius kind of wins out somehow. Or maybe this is Osteroth that pokes out, but who knows? Anyway, the royal capital is quite rowdy. So much magic to celebrate. The Wizard King made a triumphant return. Oh, the Wizard King, eh? Alright, the kingdom exists thanks to the generations of Wizard Kings who have protected us. And then, boom. So, one of my things was, like, it's always been, like, a weird thing for me in this series, is they obviously understand, like, where these bones come from, right? The thing is like, the amount of ignorance that's displayed by the population, and that can be for a variety of reasons, and things as simple as politics and hierarchy, right? The more status you have, the more access to knowledge you have, and that's just the plain and simple fact, both here and in real life. The thing is that it doesn't seem like anyone's really asking any questions, like, where the hell did that thing come from? Should we be worried about something like this happening again? Because, like, what the fuck? But even more of a question is, even if they understood, like, where this came from and the story behind it, why did no one be like, wow, there's a statue of the first Wizard King up here? Like, what's that about? Who built this? And no ne'er-do-wells. I mean, this is, like, on the border of the high magic region, right? So, like, you think you would have some rogue knights from other countries, maybe, go like, no, screw this guy, screw their history, and, like, break the statue, right? It just seems kind of convenient that no one's ever done that, but whatever. One day I'll become the Wizard King and make you happy, and he's just yelling, that's why, please marry me. Wow. The way this ends up turning out is so tragic, right? I'm sorry, Asta, I'm a nun. And he says, I'm not done yet. So, she punches Asta. This is her first attempt on his life. The first Lucifero level threat. And Asta gets washed. Astaroth had to reverse time to revive him here. So you can clearly see that in the illustration. Just kidding. But, what a way to respond, right? Like, you're a nun and you automatically resort to violence on something like that? Like, come on. Come on. What kind of nun are you? Anyway, Asta, are you causing trouble for the sister again? How many rejections will it take for you to get a hit? Dude, I hate Nash. I still hate Nash. Shut up. Yeah. So he challenges Yuno to a fight. Yuno says no. And we find out Asta has no magic. And this is the reason why I'm reading chapter 1 with you guys. Terrence, how you doing? Um, I want to talk about his potential magic. Again, I did talk about it a bit last stream, but we'll go over it again so that I kind of build on that as we're reading into the later chapters that I'll be getting into. But he's arguing sit-ups, sit-ups. Yuno's an expert laundry dryer. So, oh, Terrence, I forget you're Shelly. Why'd you name yourself Terrence? It's odd. This is part of the reason why I don't like many people from the orphanage, is because like they stand way too hard. Like, yeah, the kid's amazing. He's got a lot of talent, but like they really kind of did write Asta off, and it was kind of unnecessary. So like, on a very real note, I would never fuck with these kind of people in real life. So there's definitely no way I'm just gonna read this and be like, yeah, I like these characters. Like, I just don't like that at all. So Yuno and I were abandoned at this church on the same day. Since then, we've always been together and shared many moments. So their childhood is probably one of the cooler parts of this story. And attributes his powers to talent and diligent effort. Not to say he did not work for it, but he does later, of course, acknowledge that a lot of it just came to him because he was blessed. And this was when he was facing Xenon. And the power that he ends up attaining is something that he ended up working for. The status that he got in the Golden Dawn is something that he had to work for. He had to overcome things like half of his squad dying to be able to get there. That takes grit and hard work and a lot of perseverance. So, but up until now, he was kind of handed. It was kind of handed to him, and that's not a knock on him. He knows that. He knows the hope of this church. Dude, screw this guy. Of all people, he's like, I hate this guy, and Nash, of course. Anyway, kind of get to some of the more important parts. I don't want to read every single word, of course, but I like this. It kind of details what kind of world we're in, right? So Nash, he's so young. At this point, he's got to be like, what, 10? So even he knows, only those of noble birth, like aristocrats and royalty, have the potential to become Wizard King. And he says, we're peasants and orphans, there's no way. And you can't even use simple magic yet. You have zero potential. And what's more, you don't even have prospects for a job. Which cuts deep. And again, more reason to not like Nash. I really don't like the kid. And he lets him know, all the townspeople make fun of you. He's like, I can't believe he's older than me. Really, really don't like that sort of stuff. It's not good. It's not good behavior. And this is a part that I don't think people talk about a lot. It's kind of glanced over in the series anyway. Used to be such a crybaby when he was a boy, but he hasn't cried since the day he came home with a severely injured Asta. And since that day, Asta's been coming home covered in dirt. I wonder what he does every day. So it's cool. And it's, of course, this chapter is named Boy's Vow for a reason. They never told anyone about the fight that they got in over Yuno's magic stone. And how Asta really put his life on the line for some jerk that was willing to beat up kids for a pendant, a trinket that meant nothing to him. So, they kind of kept it between themselves, that they would get stronger together. And that's really special. Because, any child would just, like, run off and tell. Like, hey, like, some random guy beat us up and blah, blah, blah. But no, they took it on the chin, literally. And got stronger from there. So that's really cool. Really a testament to their characters. Now, talk about out of this world feats. Asta's doing one-handed push-ups. 1,000 one-handed push-ups. Like, his physical stats are off the charts. Like, without any kind of power. This kid is crazy. And he's drinking the Moguro leaf juice for his magic to help increase it. But, of course, that's no avail. But I do wonder, like, no one else has used stuff like this. Like, it would be kind of cool to see someone like Magna use something like this, because he has magic, and his magic is just really, really low, right? His magic stamina. So, you know, it would be nice to see some of the weaker mages, as far as capacity of mana goes, drink this sort of stuff so that they get stronger, but they don't. So, you can tell these things plague Asta. He hears the people from the church. Nash's words aren't just lost on him, even though it seems like he's acting aloof and goofy. They really do hit home, and this is why he has his nose to the ground, putting in that work. It's because it hurts. But you have to turn that pain into power, and that's what is the beauty of Asta. And this is the beauty of Yuno. Even though Asta, to his knowledge, is alone, Yuno's not going to let him be alone. And that's in regards of, proximity and reach, as well as power, right? So he sees Asta getting stronger. He's going to have to get stronger as well. And so he keeps a close eye on him. So here's the big part. Here is the most important part. March, around the time when the Firefly Dandelion fluffs float around, once a year, all around the country, all the 15-year-olds gather to hold an awarding ceremony for grimoires. These grimoires increase their magical powers. And you can see here we have the dandelions, and it looks like they're just like super amped by mana. Now what's really cool is that we have Lucius, who has soul magic. His grimoire looks like it has dandelion shapes on it. And as far as we know about grimoires, grimoires are attached to the soul, or souls in some cases, of the mage that they're attracted to. So to see that the dandelions are here with mana around it during these grimoire ceremonies is really telling about, the capacity of Lucius, his soul magic. I really do think ultimately he could, get rid of someone's magic or equip them with magic. I think that was soft confirmed with Euro. If you can change the shape of someone's soul, you can change whether or not they have a grimoire. It's simple as that. And I did a video on that. It's the DNA magic one. Blazing Boy, hello. Welcome. All right, here we go. Welcome, young men and women. You each will begin walking down a new path starting today. I wish you faith, hope, and love. This is a concept by a guy named Thomas Aquinas, and I've done multiple threads on Twitter about the implications of this, and he even goes into despair and how it's attached to these things. It's very cool, and I did write about it. I would definitely recommend looking at that because it's really, really, really cool. I'm still kind of reading that book where I found this information, and it's like over, I think it's like somewhere between like 2,000 and 5,000 pages. It is ridiculous, but very interesting at the same time. I'm the master of this Grimoire Tower, so drop. I don't know how to say his name. I'm gonna say drop. This guy's mysterious. I would say he is a druid, and he's probably one of the oldest characters in the series. That's just my headcanon. But something I've never seen anyone else talk about, except for me, is that the elves had to get their grimoire from somewhere, right? So it would seem to me that he probably would have been there. I don't see a bunch of elf children breaking into a grimoire tower to get their grimoires. You know what I mean? And it's not exactly like a case of... And no, drought's not necessary, right? We did see Yuno get yeeted into a grimoire tower in the Spade Kingdom, and he got his grimoire without a proctor. But it would seem that the natural way to do it, you usually have some supervision. So he would have had to know these elves, or at least someone before him, if he's not as old as I say he is. So I'm hoping he comes back with some type of information on anything. because he did also seem pretty familiar with the grimoire that Asta got, and we'll see that later. So, we haven't had a Wizard King, blah blah blah. Yeah, we know. And I like that he keeps one eye closed, because it kind of gives off Odin vibes, where he walks around as an old man with one eye, in disguise, and that's exactly what he's doing here. But he doesn't seem to be as important as an Odin character. But anyway, the awarding of the grimoires. This is so cool. I really like this scene in the anime as well. And someone had brought this up, and it seems like people are really still confused about this. The size of a grimoire does not matter at all. Like, at all. It has no contingency. And they say that somewhere. I want to say it's coming up, or it's a little bit later in the series, but yeah, if you think the size of a grimoire matters, it really doesn't, unless you're Julius and or the Witch Queen, and you have something else going on with your power. But other than that, it doesn't matter. Then we got Asta. Silence. This is so sad. It was so cringe too. Try again next year. Yeah, okay. Like, how? That's so insane. Like, I couldn't imagine this happening in real life. Like, this has never happened at all in the history of ever. And the only thing you can come up with is, try again. Try again next year. That's gotta be so embarrassing. So embarrassing. But anyway. Of course, has all the mana in the world. Casually. I like that he doesn't get amazed like everyone else. It's expected. This is mine. I'm that guy. 4-leaf Clover. And then just casually, I'll become the Wizard King. Something about the 4th leaf. So they say that grimoire has good luck within it, right? The thing is that it's pretty much canon that the 4th leaf means nothing but hardships and despair. At some point, they'll meet tragedy, and that's just the harsh reality. And I think it's just the ignorance of the people looking at a 4-leaf mage, seeing how much mana and power they have, and just assuming they have it easy, and things come to them because they're lucky. But bad things shortly follow suit. So I do hope before the series ends, Tabata gets into the real deal behind the 4th leaf, because I obviously does not mean what it means to them. What are you guys saying in there? Blazing Boy, do I think BC is dead? No, I do not. Not at all. Now let's move into I'm asking only because the hate is nonsense. I mean, it is. People have been looking for any reason to downplay Black Clover. No, I don't think it's dead. Tabata is doing what is healthy and right for him and his family. I cannot express enough how stupid it is to have to maintain hate for a series after having explicit knowledge of someone not doing well. And it's not just Tabata not doing well. Like, it's his family. Like, his daughter was in the hospital. His wife was in and out of the hospital for a minute. So, driving away from manga and anime, we're talking about a real man with a real life, with real feelings, with real health problems. And mental as well. This is not an easy schedule. It's not easy to do any of this. And provide to, and to be frankly honest here, and not saying it's anyone in the chat or anyone that's going to be watching this necessarily, but, to do this weekly, in the quality of art and the quality of the story, to what I perceive as a mostly ungrateful fan base, he's got to be tough. And to be honest with you, if I were Tabata, and he doesn't even have a Twitter or social media, if I'm understanding that correctly, and it's probably for the best, because I'll tell you this: if I saw what I saw from like the start of Black Clover, even up to now, especially now, I would not be continuing with the story, because people within the fan base will find any little reason to knock the series down instead of waiting for it to develop. And it's sad. And while I say you can separate manga and anime from real life, one of the other things is that the way you carry yourself through certain situations shows a lot about your character. The way I perceive it. So, the way I look at people right now is, if you are still coming at Tabata as a writer, knowing now that he is not in the greatest of health, physically, mentally, spiritually, along with his family who have nothing to do with this story, it says a lot about who you are as a person. You're petty, immature, and frankly, you're honestly a piece of shit. There's no other way around that. And that's how I look at people. Real life was exposed to us, and we should be able to look at it and be like, respectfully, I don't know you, but I will respect the hardships that you are going through and have gone through, and kind of lay off a bit. There's a difference between kind of knocking on a story and then knocking on the person who's writing the story. So that's just kind of my take. Not saying you have to agree with that, but that's how I view that. So yeah, and you'll probably see me on my Twitter laying into people about stuff like that, because I really don't do that. I try to carry myself the same way I do in real life. And I tried to be as solid of a character as I can be, and not to say I'm perfect. There's probably traits about me people wouldn't like. However, I'm not going to change and put on some performance because I'm like a halfway decent, not even a halfway decent content creator, like a sporadic, like shitty content creator with some subscribers, just to make a quick buck. It's just not who I am. I'm not going to put on performance. This is who I am and how I view things personally. So, but yeah, that's my take. Anyway, let's get back to this. So this part, I initially hated. I hated Yuno for this, and I'll tell you why. Asta says, "Just you wait. I'll catch up to you soon enough. After all, I'm your rival." And the look on Yuno's face here, I was hoping he would like fuck yeah, like I love you. This is why I love you, dude. But he doesn't. Now, Yuno's kind of looking at the crowd, and no one's believing anything Asta says, and not to blame anyone for that. It's it's reasonable. Magic defines who you are in this world and how far you'll get, and he's got none. So how can anyone logically believe that? So everyone breaks out into laughter. Asta's still steadfast, he's looking Yuno dead in his face. There's no one else in this room except for Yuno. That's all he cares about. And Yuno, you can tell he's sad about this for sure. But this, at a glance, it looks like Yuno's like, dude, get out of my face. And I hated this for a long time. And then I had to read it back. And we'll see why it changed in a minute. So we have Revchi working, and underrated character. Underrated power, actually. I won't say character, but underrated power. We have Asta. First time he's talking to Fate, I believe. Said, "I knew I had no skill in magic, but I didn't know I was so bad that I wouldn't get a grimoire." Then we're flashing back, and he's like, "I guess I can't do it." And he's even asking himself, did I disappoint Yuno? It's sad. He's really going through it, and this high context of language here might be a bit too high for Asta. It would have been nice if Yuno was more direct by his true feelings, which we'll see in just a few panels here. But Asta's yelling at Fate again, like, I'm gonna give up. Don't underrate me, Destiny. I'm going to do it. Even if it takes a year or even two, I'll work hard until I get a grimoire. And he tells Yuno to wait for him. Now, here is where my view changed on Yuno. where it actually skyrocketed. Yuno is staring at the Grimoire Tower because he's in complete disbelief that it potentially separated him from his best friend and rival, his brother. He's depressed about it, and it's kind of him mulling over like the next years of my life will have to potentially be without Asta, and that really sucks for someone like for as close as Asta is to him. And it's interrupted by Revchi of the Chains. So it's magic binding iron chain. It restricts the magic and movements of those it captures. And then he says he was pretty famous, but now I'm just a wretched old thief. Only the chosen gets to use his grimoire. So I wonder if he knows about Lit. I've always thought about this like wording, his grimoire, because he's obviously talking about using this grimoire. But an underworld collector would pay insane money for a 4-leaf Clover grimoire. Now the thing is that if he's talking about someone else, it's not someone that anyone knew, because that soul that Yuno has inside of him is the soul of the son that died, right? So he never got to see this grimoire until now. So someone else had this grimoire, if he's talking about someone else, that is. And it's curious to see who it is who had it. So anyway, even though you were chosen by the 4-leaf, you're still a little chickadee who received his grimoire. How unfortunate that I happened to be here. Your legend will end before it can begin. Also, he mentions that people would pay insane money for a 4-leaf grimoire. So he plans to obviously kill Yuno here. But we know that people, when they die, the grimoire is gone as well. So there's a way that Revchi's aware of to separate that mechanic from the mage. To be able to keep the grimoire intact and sell it to someone who can probably then use it somehow. So it's interesting, and I'm wondering how Tabata is going to connect this. And it would be even cooler to think that he was low-key working for Lucius, maybe not knowing that he was doing so. But you have someone like Ural. We have no idea who this guy is. But we know that Lucius is able to create a person from the ground up, and then, of course, give them a soul, and then they have a grimoire. So if Revchi was able to obtain beast magic, so let's say, we don't know where Vetto got his body initially. So we could even say that Revchi got his hands on him, or his chains rather, separated him from the grimoire, killed Vetto, that body, allowing for that elf soul to get in, but also for Lucius to later use that grimoire to give to the new body, Ural. But I guess we'll kind of see when it comes out. Asta comes rolling in, crashing in like a wrecking ball. A lot of unimportant blabber. I like that he knows how precious the grimoire is. Of course he would if you didn't get one. So, kind of cool. The outside world is a place where crooked deeds can be overlooked, and he's not wrong here. But it looks like you'll be dead before you can see that world. And Asta says he's not going to run away. Another good testament to his character. He's got zero power here. And without a second thought, he's just trying to protect his friend. He said, I may be reduced to being a thief, but I used to be a magic knight. Just telling him there's levels to this shit, buddy. A mere boy like you is no match for me. Gets Asta, but Asta's still rushing forward. Then he does the dance of the pitless viper. And Asta realizes how heavy of a blow. He's realizing the levels to this. And he says, so this is the power of mages outside this town? I can't possibly fight him with just physical training. You put up a decent struggle, lad. Since you work so hard, I'll tell you something. These chains tell me the magical powers of those who touch them. And you have absolutely no magical powers within you. You were probably just born that way. No wonder you can't use magic at all. And we'll talk about Asta's magic in a second, because it's coming up. So now Asta, I like this, because Asta is now super depressed, right? He's going through it. What the heck is that? then no matter how hard I try, I can't use magic. And he says maybe Yuno is so skilled he was chosen by the Four Leaf. But we're starting to see that mana is starting to collect around them. Yuno's mana is suppressed. Rebchi did not come in with that kind of mana surrounding him. So this has to be because of Asta. And we're going to see it change. So, and he says, I'm probably just getting in his way by being around him. In this world, you won't be able to do anything. Nothing at all. You should give up on everything. You were born to be a loser. Imagine hearing that shit. And knowing you've been, like, people have been telling you this. Maybe not as directly as that. And you've been telling yourself this. Subconsciously. Like, that hurts. And this is where Asta kind of hits rock bottom, right? He's right. No matter how much effort I put in, there are things that can't be helped. And he says, I guess it's time. And he's about to say, I give up. But then Yuno reminds him, or Rebchi rather, that Asta's his rival. And we see this pendant. And this pendant will, of course, play a huge part because we know that this draws upon whatever the user desires from the underworld. And then the Grimoire ends up coming out. Now, we have the flashback in between that, right? And we kind of know what that was about. Some random dude just took it from a child, which is so stupid. But Asta, again, rushing in with no power whatsoever, saving Yuno and getting that stone back. It's the situation that they're in right now. And he tells him, I'm going to become the Wizard King, paralleling Alan and Xenon, which was a time before them. So, really cool. Again, wondering how Tabata is going to bring that back. And there's snow here as well. So the conditions are the same. Yuno looks just like Xenon. There's got to be some kind of connection here. Alan looks just like Asta and Libe. There's got to be some kind of connection here. And Yuno starts to develop an identity based on what Asta says. I'll become Wizard King too. And they have to be rivals. So now, when we saw Yuno, we just saw like half of him, right? Watching Asta do his training just a few pages ago. He's training as well. He's training his magic control. And he's not just letting Asta move on his own. He's moving with him. Whether it's inside or out of sight. Because Asta never gave up, he's going to say, I never gave up. And that's why he's my rival. So now Asta finally gets his grit back. And he says, sorry for showing you a pathetic side of me. I'll kick this guy's ass. Then we get the Grimoire. And it comes out of the wall. So now, this is better illustrated in the anime. But those dandelions are now red in color. And we see this color when Licht goes into his demon form. So we can attribute that to negative mana. I did write a thread on that, but shortly. I do believe Asta is some kind of hybrid. I don't think it's like what Broku's been saying, though. Not anymore. That he's a devil-human hybrid. I think the possibility is one of two things. He's a demon-human hybrid, or he's an angel-human hybrid. And there's a big distinction between demons and devils in this series. And devils, for the large majority, if not every single one, don't use demon magic. They use devil magic, which seems to be much more violent in nature, and much more overpowering, of course. Then you have negative mana, which is a big power boost, which ends up reshaping the soul. And other than that, we don't know too much outside of that from negative mana, but it is also a big increase in power. So, on top of that, mana not works, but we see that the Grimoires are given during the daytime, and we see that's when all the regular mana is floating around. For Asta, if he's working with negative mana, it would work opposite of that, which means it would start working toward night or the evening, right? And this is exactly what's happening here. Again, in the anime, it's illustrated a bit better. The sun is setting at this point. So now we get the negative mana floating around Asta, rather. So that's my take on it for now. The Grimoire, and we don't initially see the 5-leaf on it. Oh, this is the other side. I'd never noticed that, actually. Interesting. Do they read from left to right in the Grimoires? Huh. Well, they have to. Because that is the back, but then we see the 5-leaf. Oh, that's interesting. Okay. Anyway. Then the sword comes out. The sword has nothing to do with Libe. Like, at all. We know these are Lick's swords. We know that this Grimoire is a sword Grimoire. So, the most logical thing to say is that the sword belongs, or the magic that Asta would have would be sword magic, but it's negative mana based. So it's not going to work as it normally would. And there is no anti-magic coming from Libe at this point. This is the base of the sword, because it already has anti-magic properties. So there's a very strong case for Asta having sword magic, and I do want to take it a step further. And I'm looking into it now, and I kind of want to make it a separate video, but I do think that the most specific thing I can say about him having sword magic is that he actually has sword soul magic, like Zagrid had word soul magic. But like I said, I'm going to delve into that a bit later, maybe sometime later this week or next week, about my specific thoughts on that. But anyway, Reb Cheese, like, what is that sword? And then the epic Clover leaves each represent faith, hope, love. Within the 4th leaf dwells good luck. But in the fifth resides the devil. So cool. I really like this panel. It's iconic. It's cinema. Gotta shake your wrists and pinch your fingers when you say that. Cinema. Alright. So now, because Asta, what does it finish and say? Because Asta of anti-magic? That makes no sense. Anyway. It's heavy. I didn't think my muscles would come in handy like this. It's pretty convenient that it did, huh? The Grimoire of anti-magic. He nullified my magic? What? And his magic is never giving up. Great, we know, kid. Your magic is also sword soul magic, so you gotta deal with that. And just launches Rebchi. And then the starry-eyed Asta. We've never seen this Asta in a long time. It's so sad. But, yeah, he's going to treasure that shit forever. And we get the fist bump. Boom. Xenon and Alan right there. And the iconic. Just, nothing's ever going to beat this page, really. It's all going to come back to it. The Sons of Licht. Possible descendant of Lumiere. We'll see. We'll see how it turns out. And the first character profile of Asta. Born October 4th. Well, he was found on October 4th. He's a Libra. Blood type A, loves Sister Lily. Probably not anymore. Gotta update that. And he's like, what, 18 now? He's an old man. Alright, so it's the first chapter. So now, the other chapters are not going to be anywhere near as long. So that'll be good. And it's not as much content either. So these next parts should be going by pretty fast. So starting from chapter 18, we should be in the dungeon. Let me see if you guys said anything in the chat. Shelly, you said you really hope the next series will be monthly after Black Clover has ended. I don't know if he's going to make another series. Considering everything happening and the way that it was mistranslated initially, he never mentioned making another series. And at this point, it would make no sense if he did. It seems like he's pretty tapped out for good reason. And it would make me happier if he didn't make another series. I think that's just my personal thing. But anyway. So chapter 18, they're inside the treasure hall. They've subdued Mars. Mars is just so crazy. Like, all of this has made me, like, re-love Mars and all that. Like, he's such a cool character. Anyway. They're all just kind of goofing off. But Klaus has been in my top 5 favorite characters since these chapters. because he makes such a big turnaround, um, and it's so consistent and it's very genuine. And I'll talk more about it as we get more into these. But right here, he's like, I can't believe the Black Bull saved us. He aided Asta. Remember, Asta and Noelle were about to die, literally about to die, due to a trap in that dungeon. And Klaus, like, got on Yuno's case for like saving them. He's like, why didn't you just let them die, dude? Like they have nothing to do with our mission. No sense of camaraderie whatsoever. And it makes sense, especially knowing what we know about Zora's dad and how they literally killed him. It's just sad. Like, that's the reality. That's the state of the Magic Knights. They do stuff like that. But anyway. Okay. So, yeah, they're just kind of bickering. Klaus allows Asta to open this giant metal door. And then Asta's like, well, how do we get in? And it doesn't look like Klaus had a plan either. His face is just blank. I love that. But Luck, he's like, it's likely there's a code or something somewhere. You can do it. I think Four Eyes. And then Luck goes like, it looks like this door's made of magic, so just cut it, Asta. And he cuts it. So here's my thing. Is magic... Here's the rules, and we have to first stick to the rules before we think about exceptions, right? The rule is plain and simple. A mage casts a spell. That spell will cease to exist as soon as the mage ceases to exist, right? So, we have this door made of magic. If we stick to that rule, whoever cast this spell would have to still be alive, right? And then we have a case like Libe, who is sealed inside of Asta's grimoire, which, again, should have been our first big hint as soon as we heard that Libe doesn't have anti-magic, right? And they're not working with, like, that energy. Or else he would have been jailbroken as soon as he obtained that power. So, just saying. But anyway, this could give room for someone like Lucida to still be alive, and we just don't know it. And we never saw her grimoire, period, much less see it disintegrate when she died, if she died. So there's still room for her to be alive. So there's no real reason why this rule should and could be broken right now. And I have a theory that these dungeons come from heaven and or hell. I would think mostly heaven, though, because if you guys have been following some of my crazy thoughts, there's an idea called the firmament, which means that the earth is more or less flat, and I just say more or less because it's not actually flat even in this idea. But it is covered by a very physical dome, and at the very top of it is something called the vault of heaven. And they confine heaven to a vault, which is kind of strange, but it's specific. And this is literally a vault with all kinds of treasures. And we find some very, very big items / I guess, beings in here. That being Belle and the Demon Dweller Sword. And something particular kind of happens in a chapter from now. That I'll obviously point out when we get to it. That makes it seem like all of this was just a decoy. And this was literally put here so that Asta and Yuno can get the things that they needed to go forth in their journey throughout Destiny. So yeah, we'll get into it. But anyway, if I'm Asta, by the way, I'm gunning for this sword. Like, I'm gunning for it. Like, I'm gonna find any item that's gonna help me be a better fighter. Because, like, you have one sword, you cut magic, that's good, that's cool, but, like, you can only get so far. Like, I would be stealing so much shit right now, but, like, I'm built different, you know what I mean? I'm just built different. So anyway, they're all amazed, they're kind of toying around with different stuff. I wish they all picked up something. I really wish they did. but they don't. I don't know why, but anyway. Um, this is cool, actually, because I never noticed that they found this here, but they used this. They end up using this between Lolo Pechka and Julius. So that's really cool that they found that. I never noticed that this is where that came from. Damn. That's a Twitter post right there. That's cool. So Class is like, don't mess with anything. Yuno is of course drawn to this. It's calling to him. So it's in a scroll. And this is a bit of a rabbit hole here, right? So we know that scrolls can be linked to Hino. Right? Now this is of course not the typical scroll that we saw in Hino. It looks a little bit more heavy duty. However, it's a scroll nonetheless. And we don't normally get scrolls, especially with spells written inside of them. Or a spell, rather. So if Hino is a type of progenitor to the Four Kingdoms, meaning like this is where, you know, the cycle of life starts, then you would kind of have to question, like, what hand did they have in sending this here, right? Where exactly did this come from, and why was Belle sealed in a scroll? We never saw that with the other two elemental spirits that we have with Undine and Salamander. Salamander just kind of pops up out of nowhere. Undine has been where she was for a long time, but it seems like she was just in that land already, in the water. So it seems that Belle was intentionally sealed away for this moment. And we just kind of have to know why and who did that. And I do believe it has to do with Tetia, because she did survive. And if you guys follow me on Twitter, I do have a thread talking about the possibility of Tetia. I think I also have a video on this as well. The possibility of Belle being Tetia herself. And this is more so following a berserk line of thought, where Kento Miura is following very true lore about elemental spirits being heroes from a previous life. So it could stand that Tetia was drawn to share her magic at all. Tetia, she is still out here protecting the sun she was not able to protect initially, which is a really good story to write in, and that's kind of my take on that. So, you know, and then the magic just kind of latches onto him. I would be so worried if I was like looking at someone, they just picked up some random item from this crazy ass dungeon and they just start lighting up. I'd be worried about them, but then the writing's gone. I would also be worried for myself, like, what the fuck just happened? Like, am I okay? Am I gonna be okay? Now here we go. We have Sekre pulling on Asta's hair, just going crazy, right? And it looks like she leads him to this wall, where we will later find out that the demon dweller is behind. But this means that Sekre knew the sword was there. This dungeon obviously looks like it's been here forever. But my thing is when would they have time to make a whole ass dungeon, put the sword in there, and then like seal it away? Like, there's no time. With the information that we got, there's no way. And there's no way for Lit to have taken all of the swords out of the grimoire that he had and like dispersed them, all except for Demon Slayer, right? There was just no time for any of that. So there's still a big gap in information that we have. And on top of that, Yami, just before this chapter, talks about how the dungeon just surfaced and how ancient people from a long time ago were the ones who were responsible for this. And given 500 years is a long time, it's not ancient. It's not that old. So it's just curious. And when we get into the other side of this wall, I'll kind of talk more about it. But I do want to know if this item means anything, because it looks like it was intentionally placed there. Maybe just as a marker, I don't know. But it's just kind of strange how that's just kind of there. Actually, let me look back at the door they came through. It kind of looks like this device, right? It's kind of shaped the same on the outside. So it's like it's locked. But yeah. Anyway, and you look at the bricks around it, it looks like they're like they hollowed out the room and this was like the oddly shapen door and they just kind of bricked it up, right? Pause. But and it looks more dilapidated than everything else around it, right? It kind of looks like the rust on Asta's swords. So it's just interesting. Like, how did he recover in so little time? And he's got flame recovery magic, Phoenix robe. This is intense. Because, like, we're 18 chapters into the series, and he's already breaking rules. Like, this is how intense Mars was, and I really like that about him. And this, I forgot it was so early in the series that this showed up. But here it says, mana from one of the 4 classical elements, fire, wind, water, and earth, dwells in each mage. Mages can only use one magic from their own mana or from a single attribute derived from it. So here, fire is linked to explosion, blank, blank, blank. Earth is linked to steel and sand. And then between them, earth and water, you have plant and mud. Water, you have ice. Between water and wind, you have mist, wind, lightning. And this is the cool part, which I'm going to bring up right now, is that this is another tell of how ignorant they are to their own world. Because now we flash forward to when Lolopechka talks about arcane stage mages and unique types of magic. We see that spatial magic can't be linked to anything on this list here. It really cannot. But in Eastern philosophies, they have 5 classical elements, and the 5th one is called void. These are the Godai. I guess I can look them up while we're here. So this is the Godai, and these are the elements, the Japanese philosophy 5 elements. Void, water, fire, earth, and wind. Together they are the Godai. So, void is natural because they view things like outer space, the space between Earth and the next planet, Earth and the sun, Earth and the rest of everything else. There's literally so much space. Roughly, and if we want to get super technical, there's more space than there is any of these elements. So you could argue that void is more natural than anything on this list. And in fact, it's necessary for these things to even exist. So it has to be a natural element in and of itself, which is why it is not arcane, because it is that natural. Now, something else that's cool that will be reinforced in a couple of chapters is that lightning is connected to wind. They talk about how wind mages have a natural predisposition to sensing the flow of mana. Like, they're the best at sensing that stuff. Luck is roughly the best mana sensor we have in the series, with no other amp like a devil or key or anything like that. Like, he's definitely the best one we have, and he's connected to wind. I just think it's very interesting. And it's just like that in the Godai as well. They'll break down every single element in there. And if you look at wind, lightning is closely attached to it as well. So I really like that. And Tabata's illustrating that he's using the ideas of the Godai while also illustrating that they are very much still ignorant to the things that they know about their own magic. And we can even see that with the literal question marks. They don't know what the other possibilities are. So yeah, really cool. Mars is ignoring the rule, and then we have Mars. He's starting to remember, right? And he's saying, is this the result of the Diamond Kingdom's... Or no, that's Klaus, excuse me. And it's Mars kind of going through it. You're going to be a great warrior, Mars. I just know it. And she says, I'm really sorry, Mars, and this is all I can do. And it's so sad, because we'll find out, right, that she's not trying to harm him. She actually healed him, but made it look like an attack so that he would kill her and be able to experience the outside world. And it's very sad. And Noel, going the logical route. I have water. He's got fire. I'll put out the flames. But there's levels, Noel. You can't put out diamonds, girl. You just can't. and she's dead, just like that. Noelle, done. And so Mars, with a 500 IQ play, understands that if I can outmaneuver the sword, I can defeat this kid. Very dope. Easy. Now, also, anyone who likes to downplay Austin, the type of content he was putting out weekly, look at the designs of these swords. And this continues throughout the rest of these chapters as well. This is coming out weekly. Think about how much of a pain in the ass it is to draw shit like this just for kids and ignorant fucks to like shit on it when they can't even come close to anything. This is crazy. Absolutely nuts. But then you stand something like, JJK, it's like scribbles, like bro, like coming down to art, like nothing to do with like the mangaka themselves. The art is just clear, bro, and like this being weekly. So he's smashing through all the things, but they're still kind of tagging him. He gets hit by one, sends him flying through this thing again. They show it. It's got to be kind of important. It has to be, right? Anyway, this is where he finds the sword. Asta looks up and he's like, could it be? Like, can I use this? And look, it's already rusted too. So here's my thing. I've been kind of thinking about this. I don't know whether to attribute the rust or the rusting effects of Asta's touch to himself or Libe, because this was already rusted. The Demon Slayer also came out rusted as well. It's a bit tough, I guess, but if we go the Libe route, what I think is interesting is that there could be room for Libe to be a devil like Belial or Belial, who is the demon of entropy, and that would naturally cause something to kind of rust and dilapidate, right? But then it could also be due to negative mana interacting with it. And if that's the case, someone had to have touched the sword before it got there. And I want to note this, because I did get into a debate with someone. And one of the things that no one can explain to me is that you can say, like, oh, well, like, this dungeon is at least 500 years old. Like, of course it'd be rusted, Jack. You're stupid. But let's go back. Did we not, like, understand? We just came into a room full of treasure. Everything is literally shiny as hell. This sword is still reflecting, like, light. You can see, I can see my reflection. That's how shiny it is. This vase right here, shiny. Gold, shiny. Everything in here, nothing in here is rusted. Except for the door that this is behind, number one. Let's go back to that. These bricks look just as rusted as the sword does. Like, you can't tell me this has to do with just time passing. Like, someone touched that sword and made it look that way. So, with his character profile, he's 18, dude. I forget how young